You don't know anything about the boxes. That's what Molly Michael, a former aide to Donald Trump, claimed he directed her to say with regard to the classified documents the FBI found in his possession. This is per the New York Times. That was first reported by ABC News. Michael also told investigators Trump wrote notes to himself about the documents, which she only realized after the fact that they were marked classified.
CNN legal analyst Ellie Honing told Anderson Cooper this could present a blow to Trump. Let's listen.
She's going to be a really difficult person for Donald Trump's defense team to cross-examine. And then let's think about the substance of what the reporting is saying Molly Michael will testify, which is that Donald Trump told her straight up, you are to lie to investigators. You are to tell them you know nothing about boxes or documents, which was untrue. That is right down the middle. That is textbook obstruction of justice. That is textbook witness tampering, potentially really devastating evidence here.
Georgia former prosecutor Chris Timmons told CNN's Aaron Burnett Michael's testimony could be the smoking gun. Let's watch.
She makes a much stronger witness. And on top of that, she's got just damning information. I mean, this is a smoking gun. And so I think what we're going to see here is when this case goes to trial, if it goes to trial, her testimony, particularly her direct and more importantly, her cross-examination is going to be the key to whether the former president is convicted.
These are not the boxes you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing to say about this. This is an unforced error on Trump's part to have kept the boxes after they just requested them back. You can absolutely say that this is not very consequential. You can say that all sorts of political figures have such documents in their possession. I would make the case that it is a bad thing that we routinely overclassify so many things and put people in this situation because there's this knee-jerk secrecy going on. All that said, Trump's being treated differently here because he persisted past the point where, like any other normal political person with an R or a D next to their name, would have just given back the documents, and then there would have been no prosecution. If there was still a prosecution then, yeah, it would have been unfair, and we should have called it out. But it's just not, that's not the case. He brought this on himself. He caused incriminating videos and statements and witnesses to exist. And again, it's not, I don't think it's a big deal. It's not the end of the world. It's just something we should not have to talk about. He shouldn't have to deal with. He's only dealing with, there was nothing at stake. He did not stand up to the deep state successfully because of this. He did not fight for any conservative or independent or populist or MAGA principle.
He didn't steal the proof that aliens exist.
Yeah, right. If they try to drag those boxes with the little alien bodies and build a little spaceship, the photos of the spaceships away from him, and he said, "This is why I need this," that would be different. Now, again, he's tried to say that these were plans, something in, although that was not the document that is actually charged. I'm not quite sure on the details anymore, but at some point there was the plans to attack Iran, and he was being portrayed as wanting to have attacked Iran, and actually it was the generals advising that or putting together a theoretical plan to do it. So look, I understand why he would want to acquit himself in that way, but it seems very clear based on what he said that he knew he could not have those documents.
This undoubtedly.
And he could have declassified them when he was president.
Yeah.
He could have declassified them and then kept them. But he's on tape saying he knows he can no longer do that.
Yeah. This would undoubtedly be the dumbest reason for Donald Trump to go down.
It is very dumb.
And yet it is a legitimate
it's a
violation of the law and a situation that he put himself into. Obstruction of justice and all the rest of it.
It's sort of in the same way that there's a no jaywalking sign there and you cross the street, but then he also recorded himself next to the jaywalking sign doing it and said, "Look at this."
And also to the extent that it's like an accident.
It's that level of seriousness.
Like if everyone, like a lot of other people made the same faux pas as him, Mike Pence, Joe Biden. But he, even in the midst of all of that, continued to go above and beyond and behave in ways that created legitimate distinctions between his behavior and the behavior of the others, Hillary Clinton. And if he had just acted like a normal person and returned the boxes on the first, second, third, or fourth times they asked for them back and still tried to go after him over it, he could credibly make the case that they are making an example of him and treating Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Mike Pence and all the others very differently. But he fundamentally cannot. And so now the Republican Party is in the situation where they have to deal with the fact that for the dumbest reason in the world, their likely Republican nominee is going to go down.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time to pick someone who would have just given the boxes back and not made this an issue. There is time. There's many other candidates running. You can choose any of them. You have your options, but Republican primary voters are saying, no, we don't care. We want Trump. We think this is BS, or we don't care about it. Again, this is the least consequential by far of all the indictments he's facing. It's not a particularly significant issue, but it is what it is. What do you want? If I was in charge of picking, I would look for a candidate who is not flawed in this way. But it's the Republican electorate that's in charge, and they've said they don't care and they want him.
I do wonder if someone like
maybe this is the reason they want him.
I do wonder if someone like Nikki Haley is going to. I mean, she was willing to be critical of
whatever you're about to say. She's not.
She was willing to be critical of the Republican Party during the debates in a way that I think, not just I think. Poll testing and audience reaction evidence suggested made her look really good to folks. It showed integrity. I feel the same way about Bernie Sanders or others who are critical of the Democratic Party. It shows a lot of guts to do that. She called Republicans out for driving up the deficit. Amen to her. And I wonder if that energy might be brought to a moment like this where she's like, I'm very unlikely to be picked for VP. So let me say the truth, that as dumb as this is, the fact that Donald Trump would be willing and able to get himself into the situation is disqualifying as president of the United States. It's almost worse. It almost reflects worse on him because it was so avoidable and dumb. And don't we just want an adult in the room for once?
Republican voters don't agree with that. They just don't agree with that.
With that what?
What you just said. That it's dumb and disqualifying.
Dumb for President Biden to have done this kind of
they think it's dumb for President
Trump
Biden
to have done this own goal.
They don't care. They don't think that.
Well,
and they don't want to hear you criticize it.
I don't know.
That's the view they're expressing.
I don't know. At a certain point, some Republicans were expressing frustration of being in a position where you had to defend Trump over this one in particular, because there's just no defense to it. It's not, a guest earlier seemed to still be under the belief that the allegations of voting fraud hadn't been formally sufficiently pursued by the Trump DOJ. There are people out there that, for whatever reason, believe that the 1/6 related indictments are more about their entitlement to the presidency and democracy. There are people who feel like the Stormy Daniels stuff is smutty and personal and beyond the pale. But the boxes, it's like I gave you 7 opportunities to just not break the law. And your jaywalking example, you see someone step 1 foot in the street and the cop goes, hey, I'm gonna have to arrest you if you keep going.
The crosswalk's right there.
Can you just turn around?
Go to the crosswalk?
And you do it again. Oh, no, but please, I don't want to arrest
crosswalk,
you.
Sir?
Just go back to the curb. And on the 5th time, they just sashay across in the middle of the, and then the whole Republican Party is put in the position where they got to defend just the dumbest behavior on the planet. At a certain point, it's exhausting and it's unfair to have put the public in that position.
I agree with that, but again, Republican primary voters have shown no indication, very little indication that it matters to them whatsoever, and they're the ones who will decide who the nominee will be.
Well, I don't know that you can say that when we're just getting that these investigations are all in their primal stages, and we're now only getting more and more conclusive evidence that Donald Trump is guilty of this one. This is something that's a lot harder to duck. And so I think I gotta say, I think it is sometimes irresponsible when we in the media, before any time has passed, start making proclamations about what the public will think about the media story that we're delivering. Because sometimes we create the perception. The liberals did this all through 2016. People started saying things like, no one will care that it came out that Trump did this, which seems to give the audience permission to not care. And what we have seen evidence of is, one, the audience likes it. The public likes it when people are truth tellers from the Republican Party. We saw that with Nikki Haley. And 2, some Republicans in office have demonstrated exhaustion of having to defend Donald Trump on this particular issue because it's indefensible. So I'm interested to wait and see what the public thinks about this. Not that he's a bad guy or doesn't deserve to be president because of it, but because he has disadvantaged the party and is not looking out for the party and instead is putting his own self-interest before the good of the whole.
The public might feel very badly about this, and there's certainly evidence that the swing voter, moderate type person is moving away from Trump, and that this does make a difference to them. I'm not saying overall. It's just specifically with Republican primary voters. I have not seen evidence yet. I'm not saying they're right to not care, and I wish the nominee would be someone else. I actively wish it would be someone else, but I've seen no indication whatsoever that any of this stuff is breaking the Trump spell.
Well, it just happens. Like,
I mean,
this
it
news
didn't
story just happened.
The documents thing has been going on for like a year now.
Yeah,
right. It feels like 10 years.
Him actually
what do you mean it just
being
happened?
convicted of something, of the news reporting overwhelmingly that he is going to be convicted of this crime, and depending on what the penalties are for the crime, if he is disqualified on some level for whatever reason from literally running, I mean, this is imperiling the fate of the Republican Party as a whole. You cannot say that that's not going to have zero effect on people's perception of whether or not they should vote for a more stable candidate in a primary, especially when we're now getting polls that show any number of Republican candidates look like they can beat Biden in a head-to-head matchup.
I just don't think this argument is resonating. I wish it was. I don't think it is. But as you point out, a lot of time left, so we will see if those poll numbers begin to move. And tomorrow, we'll be back with more Rising, because this does it for us for today. We'll have a lot more to talk about the Bidens, Donald Trump, probably more updates on Russell Brand. You should stay tuned for that.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. For those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the move, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
See you later.
Bye-bye.